Hey there, it's Tony Stark Polici. Thanks for tuning in to the Hero Up Show. I want to give you a little disclaimer about this episode. This one is pulled from my archives. It was recorded a couple years ago, and it's all about copywriting. My guest is Mandy Sanchez, who at the time was Mandy Audette. She's one of my writers on the Copy Avengers team, Earth's mightiest marketing messengers. And we talk about her journey as a copywriter. We talk about how she thinks and where we get inspiration to write compelling copy. So if writing copy for your business or your offers is something that's of interest to you, then you're going to like this interview. So thanks for tuning in, and let's go. Hello, and welcome to Hero Up, the podcast that inspires and challenges you to step up and become heroic in all areas of your life. I'm your host, Tony Stark Polici, and it's my goal to give you practical, actionable advice and insights into copywriting, mindset, lifestyle, and impact. On this show, we'll explore how to create compelling and persuasive marketing messages, and I'll give you clever tips to make you stand out as a hero. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a freelancer, a coach, or a creative, this podcast is for you. So, let's dive in. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this interview. Today, I'm really excited because I have an amazing woman that I'm going to be talking to. This is Mandy Audette. She is an incredible copywriter and a fantastic musician and just an overall amazing human being who I've had the pleasure of working with now for a couple years. Mandy is one of the people who I am blessed to have on my team of Copy Avengers, but she also writes copy for a number of other businesses and individuals. And so we're really excited. Well, I'm really excited to just have you on today, Mandy, and find out about you, about your story, and just get to know you a little bit better, and for our viewers to get to know you. So how are you doing today?
Great. Thank you, Tony.
Awesome. And you're in a really wonderful location. Do you want to tell us about where you're at, or is that something you want to cover later on?
Sure. I'll tell you where I am at. I am at a place called Shadoni Art Gallery. And I don't know, here's one sculpture. It's a sculpture garden, really.
Oh,
it's
wow.
out in Santa Fe. It's in Tesuque, just north of Santa Fe. And I wanted to do the interview here for a couple of reasons. One, because I like to be outside and walk around. And two, because this is kind of one of the first, locations for when I first started getting writing when I moved to New Mexico in 2008. I guess, my copywriting journey is, I don't know whether it's the same as anyone else's. I was just kind of into English and writing and things like that, in high school. And I have an English degree. And then I moved to New York and I was a proofreader and an editor for 5 years. But then I wanted to start a copywriting business, It was something that was just sort of under the surface. And so when I moved to New Mexico, I got started, really hanging out my shingle. And so, I don't know, sometimes, like a lot of people, when you want to get started with a new business, you don't know where to start. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was just making things up, I don't necessarily have, I didn't have a place to start. And so I was just looking around trying to find ideas and stories. And one thing I noticed about Santa Fe and New Mexico is there's so many artists, it's just so interesting that there's just people are constantly, doing cool artwork, and they always have a story behind it. And they're always, when you start interviewing artists, they will just go into like the materials that they use, how they got inspired and stuff like that. So one of the first things I did before I even had a career is look at this thing. What the heck is that?
Yeah, interesting.
Head was start a blog called Art Field Trips. And it was almost like I was just going on field trips and going to studios and meeting people and interviewing artists and just finding out what they're like, And I think that, kind of leads to one of the things that I do well and that, that I bring to the table is I'm really interested in people and their creativity and what makes them tick. I just love talking to people and writing about what makes them so awesome. I'm a real, like, an intense people person. And so when I started writing about artists, I really got to appreciate that, just get to know what makes all these people special, what makes their art special. And, when they're talking about their art, they get to talk about their creativity and what inspires them. And that was pretty great. Anyway, so that was like a recreational start to my writing career, but it really ended up being a lot of feature articles about people. And then I found a client, I just met her at a Chamber of Commerce event. I was walking around, I had a brand new baby. I got to tell you, my children are very attractive, just very cute. They were, I had a baby with Kelvin. He's 14 now. He's bigger than me, but at the time he was just this adorable baby in a stroller. So I'm walking around trying to be professional, even though I've got a baby.
Right.
And so this photographer was there. Her name is Michelle Stump, and she was really one of my first clients. And she was almost like, out of the way, let me see this child. Funny. She's always just wanted to see my baby, bring him. And she wanted to get to know me because I had this cute kid that she wanted to see. Anyway, so she wanted me to write about her business, which was she's a photographer. And she's taking pictures of the beautiful landscape, New Mexico, just gorgeous, She made them into cards and postcards and things like that.
Right.
And she wanted me to write a press release about her business. And that was where I got started,
So that was your first client? She was your first client?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first client, she wanted me to write press releases about her artwork. And while she was, taking pictures of nature, then she started taking pictures of art and sculptures and do her Photoshop magic with them and turn it into like these, I don't know, she just turned it into this otherworldly image. And so I started writing press releases, and then she took those press releases and she got a showing in a gallery, and that led to writing about the event, and that led to something else. It just sort of like was exciting because everything we did together led to something new, something bigger. Yeah, everything we did led to something bigger. At first she just wanted a short little blurb about her cards just to get people to come and buy them, And she took every success and turned it into something bigger. When she got the first article published in the newspaper, she brought it to an art gallery and she proceeded to get herself a solo show. And then from the solo show, she brought that to the Shadoni Gallery, and she started meeting people there, and she started partnering up with other artists, and then she turned it into this other thing. And so it was fun to work with her because I could see she was getting results, and I could also see just, the fun you can have with your business, when you meet other people and when you take one success and you turn it into something else, you make something bigger out of it,
Right.
You multiply it.
Well, so how often do you come to this location just to enjoy the space, and does it give you inspiration?
Well, I like to come here to, I've brought my kids here. I like to come and have picnics and lunch and, just look at the art.
How far is this from where you live? Is this close to your home?
Yeah, it's 20 minutes away from my home.
Nice. So, one of the interesting things that I think about when you talk about this setting is, really copywriting for me, because I was a professional actor, there's a huge artistic and theatrical element in great copywriting, because I think the best copywriting comes from storytelling. And I don't think that effective copywriting can actually happen unless we have storytelling and all of the emotion and the human elements. And you mentioned some of these things, when you first got started looking at the artist's stories and their things. So tell me, how does, I know you're a musician, so you've got an artist heart and soul, right? I mean, how does that play into what you do as a copy?
Let me tell you a quick story because I've been a trumpet player for a long time. I was into trumpet playing, but also into writing. And so when I was a child, I started playing trumpet and being in band. And I remember bringing my father to a jazz concert. And I don't know if you've ever tried to improvise on an instrument. When you first get started, most normal people get nervous when they do it. You got your music in front of you, and then I think the idea is to look at scales and chords and make something up. And so I was up on stage trying to do that, but I was really nervous. I was like a statue, playing. And my dad, he's a musician too. He played the drums in a band called Better Days Band. They did a lot of Beatles covers and stuff. So he's used to playing on stage, and he's real, playing drums is real physical. So his arms all over the place. And so he's like, if you're playing trumpet, you need to be waving your instrument around. You need to be showing off more, or whatever. He's trying to tell me that I need to be strutting around the stage. And I was nervous. I was like, but Dad, can't. I feel like my body is like, I feel like I'm, so nervous,
Yeah. Just kind of paralyzed with fear, frozen in place.
Right. And something about memorizing your music, then all of a sudden you're free to move your body. You're free to move your body. And so when you have music memorized, then all of a sudden I found myself, I got my music memorized. I'm improvising and I'm moving my body around. I'm like, dang, I wish my dad could see me now, because I'm waving my trumpet around just like he told me. But I think the same is true with writing and with copywriting. A lot of people, there's rules and there's, suggestions and stuff, but you need to understand the product. You need to know the person you're writing about, and then you can have fun, once you gain an understanding of what you're doing.
What I hear you saying, and you correct me if I got this wrong, but the research is really fundamental to great copywriting. Understanding who you're talking to, what voice you're supposed to use, what their problems, their pain points are, the language that they use. That's really crucial. And once you understand that, then the copywriting is much easier. You can be free.
Yeah, free. You can show off. You can sound natural, sound like you're having fun. And it takes some time. You have to get some things under your belt. You have to memorize some stuff, so put in some work. I don't know.
So I
think that probably for younger people, especially, or people that are getting started, it takes some time.
Right. So your photographer client, that launched you into a pretty good spot because you had some success with her and you got to see her getting results. Fast forward now, this is what, 14 something years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what other important elements of your copywriting story, do you think have made a major impact on your life and your abilities as a writer? Is there one other instance or client that stands out?
Let's see.
Or maybe somebody that you studied with.
That's right. Well, I've studied with the American Writers and Artists have got a Circle of Success program, and it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose for sure. Early on, maybe I think 2009, I joined that. And so that gave me a really broad overview of copywriting. And so I studied that. And I've gone to business event in Chicago where I got a real deep dive into business to business writing. And we were talking about, I think, who was there? Bob Bly was there and teaching us all about lead generation. And that was amazing. Steve Slonwhite was there talking about, business to business writing and sales writing and stuff. And Gordon Graham was there, and that was pretty helpful. He was teaching us all about white papers. And so I was kind of working closely with him, and also Michael Katz was there and talking about newsletters. And so I think even though I've spent more time reading and following, and also Ed Gandia was there too. And he was talking about B2B copywriting case studies. And so I think that was a pretty helpful time that helped me decide what I'm going to be doing, what kind of services I'm going to be offering, because I really dove into newsletters and emails, and also learning about white papers from Gordon Graham was really helpful, because he taught a lot about, I think, people's mindset when they're buying things. Like if you've ever read his book, he's got a website called that White Paper Guy, and book White Papers for Dummies really covers it well. But he says with white papers, it sounds like a real nerdy research paper that you're writing, but he's got 3 types of white papers, and this has helped me tremendously when I'm dealing with clients and when I'm thinking about people in their sales process. So the first kind of white paper, they're based on ice cream flavors. You can look at his website and get more information about it, that whitepaperguy.com. But there's 3 white paper flavors: vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. So vanilla is for people that are about to buy. That type of white paper is for someone that's going to buy the product, and that person needs concrete details. They need to know how big it is, how many watts it has. They want to know, is it going to fit in my space? Someone who's serious about buying, and that's someone at the bottom of the funnel. They want a vanilla white paper, and that he calls it vanilla because you know what to expect. Maybe it's a little predictable. It's a backgrounder, but it's something that it'll help you make a decision about whether you're going to buy. So it's at the bottom of the sales funnel.
Right.
And then at the top of the sales funnel, there's chocolate. And the chocolate, if you think of chocolate ice cream, it's rich, it's satisfying, it's kind of deep. This is for people that they don't necessarily know they want to buy something. They have a problem though. And so I think this whole white paper discussion has helped me with my search engine optimization thinking too. So at the top of the sales funnel, you want a chocolate white paper. And that is just where you're having an overview of the whole industry, or an overview of your clients' lives, their problems. And you write a white paper that solves a big, important problem that they're facing. And so that just goes over, it's like a deep, analysis of this problem. And then maybe at the end, it'll talk about the product, but it's really problem oriented. And in the middle, there's strawberry. And strawberry ice cream, it's light, it's fun, it's kind of fruity. I don't know. He makes it sound better when he describes it. But, and that is in the middle of people where they know they want to solve a problem, and they see that they have a lot of options. They're trying to narrow down their options. Mm-hmm. And so to help someone in that part of the sales process, you write like a numbered list. And a numbered list, so the numbered list could be, 7 qualities to look for in a copywriter. Those are for people that are looking for a copywriter. And then if I were to write it, I would want to make sure that those 7 qualities, I have them all.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. That the concept of this free report, when I started in, copywriting and marketing with my little brother, back in 1991, there was this concept of this free report, which was, today we call these things lead magnets. They really were the same thing back then, just a different approach. But it followed that format very much. There were compelling questions that we used to grab people's attention to request the report, and then the report answered these questions, and it highlighted the services that the problems that we solved. So whenever we wrote one of these free reports for a client, the questions all, in some way pointed to the person who was the author of the report or was providing the report as the one that had the solution. So yeah, I get that. I love that. So would you consider that, well, rather than suggesting this, let me just ask you, what do you think your superpowers are?
My superpowers, well, as I mentioned before, I'm a real person-oriented copywriter and person. I want to know what people are going through and where they are as individuals. And so if I'm talking to a business and I'm approaching their problem, I'm going to remind them that their customers are people and they have problems. And, I'll approach it from a standpoint. And I think that makes me an effective copywriter because my writing is more emotional and it really cuts to what people are going through, Even if I'm writing about something really technical or hard to understand, I'll still talk about, people. Like the other day I was interviewing these two clients. I was talking to these two clients. He is an acupuncturist and he has a system of acupuncture that it's kind of hard to explain, the way he was talking. He's saying that he doesn't test to pinpoint where to stick the needles. He goes through this series of motions with his clients and he can find out where the pain is, where the problem is, and that will help him decide where to put the needles. And so of course, he's got this great product, but he's going, well, I don't know if people are finding my website. And so I was explaining to him and his wife how they need to listen to their clients and hear what they're saying and turn that into website copy. Clients are coming to them and they're saying that they have these symptoms or that they went to the doctor and the doctor didn't listen to them about this. And, listen to how they're saying it and what they're trying to say and turn that into copy, turn that into their content. Because if their clients say it this way and your website says it this way, then your ideal clients will find you.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that I love about you, that I've noticed about you, is that you have a high degree of empathy. At least that's my judgment. When in the projects that you've worked on, that we've worked on together, or that you have taken on as part of the work that we've done together, you really dig in and get to know the client and the audience. I mean, to the point of, buying and using their products, which I think is essential. You're
always buying products too.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think us marketers and copywriters, those of us that are really serious about this, are probably the best customers on the planet because we buy everything. But
oh my God, it's ridiculous. I buy everything.
Yeah. I can't really.
Sometimes I think I'm a sucker because I'm like, wow, that's a great email. I'll buy it. I'm probably too easy of a customer.
Yeah. Well, we have to be a product of the product. I mean, I think that in order to really write effectively about what it is that we're trying to promote and get other people to invest in, it's like I have to know and believe that that's something worth investing in. At least that's how I am. I've been very selective about the kinds of things I've written over the years. I've turned down some very lucrative projects because I just didn't believe in what was being sold. So anyway, that's one of the things I've noticed about you. And so to hear you say how much you care about people and their problems, that really lands with me because it's one of the things I've noticed about you too. And one of the reasons that I wanted you to be part of this team is just because of the character and the traits that you exhibited, as well as your skills as a copywriter. But I think the things that makes, and this will be like a little plug for the Copy Avengers as an entity, is like I think about creating these superhero copywriters. And real superheroes, they save the world and they do a lot of good. They have a lot of dysfunction and they destroy things and they knock down buildings and everything else. And I think that with the Copy Avengers, what I like about our team is that, we're not having ego battles like you see in some of the superhero movies where, two guys are like, having a pissing match about, who should be in charge and this and that. It's really like we all work together for the betterment of the client and everybody cares about, the outcome that we're trying to get for the client. Really, the client is the superhero. That is the person that we're all working for. And I love that everybody in our team, thinks that way and responds that way. So
we're trying to figure out how the client can be the hero.
Right.
Out their super qualities.
So, this is a good segue into, since we're talking about, how much we care about clients and how important it is to care about clients. I'd like to know, what is something about your life, something that you love to do that maybe, we wouldn't notice. You've already mentioned the trumpet playing, that you're a musician. I know you love to do that, but obviously you love your kids. Is there something else that you love to do in your life?
That I love to do in my life.
It's like coming to this location and like really enjoying this art, and the outdoors is another thing that's very important to you.
Yeah, I do like to be outside. I like to explore places. And, I tend to be, some people can be really routine oriented. I'm curious. I want to try new things. Sometimes, like my birthday, people were going, "What's your favorite restaurant?" I'm like, "Well, my favorite restaurant is the one I've never been to before." I always want to try a new thing. So maybe that's like people have different needs for novelty. Some people want routine and some people want novelty. I want novelty for sure.
That makes a lot of sense too, because I think one of the most important traits as an effective copywriter is curiosity. And it's hard to, remain curious if you're not trying new things, if you're not exploring new things. I mean, let me back that up and change this a little bit. I don't know how one can go into trying new things or doing new things unless there's a level of curiosity that's always there, right? Like, just so many people get into a box and there's no inspiration, there's no passion, there's nothing when you're in a box. So I think being curious is a great trait. So novelty, that's cool. You love novelty. All right.
Yeah.
So what is there something that, okay, so your mom, you're a musician, you're a copywriter, you're passionate about art and exploring and creating new things. Is there something about you that like people normally wouldn't guess that you want to share?
I have like a ridiculous amount of pets right now.
Do you?
I don't know how that happened. It's because I moved in. I'm getting married too. So I'm getting married. I moved in with my boyfriend, and I had one dog. Up until usually in my life, I've had one animal. Maybe in the past I've had more than one animal. Like one time I had a dog, and that dog gave birth to puppies, and so I had like 11 dogs. But normally I have one pet. And so in the middle of the pandemic, though, I got to tell you, I was getting kind of depressed, and my kids are getting depressed too. We were bummed out, and I was like, but we can't be this depressed. This is bad. I got to do something fast. And so I was like, I know, let's get a kitten. And the kids are like, yay, let's get a kitten.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. And so we went to get a cat, but then the only cat there was really old. So we got that cat, and so it actually has died since then. But so then we had two cats. And then when we moved in with my boyfriend, he has got 6 guinea pigs, 2 cats, 5 chickens, an axolotl, and he has a dog, and there's a hamster, and what else? 3 birds and a ferret.
Hey,
what?
You guys have like your little mini zoo.
And I'm like, how can I make this into something that, I was thinking maybe I could have like a blog about pet ownership or something. Like having a ferret is definitely weird. And like we had the ferret, and then the ferrets are playing, and then we got a new kitten. So it just seems like the circle of life is happening in my house.
That's hilarious. So what is this animal? Axolotl? Is that what you said?
Oh, but the axolotl died. But the axolotl, look up axolotls. They're the cutest little things.
Okay. Yeah.
Pink salamanders, and they've got these little feelers coming out of their heads.
Yeah.
And they have smiles, and they're really cute. We'll just get a picture of an axolotl, and we'll put it edit it into this movie so everyone can see what they look like.
Right, absolutely.
They're so cute, and they're so weird.
Yeah, so I'm a big lizard and salamander guy. I kind of love those. When I was growing up, one of the states that I spent a great deal of time in was Texas, and they had something there called horned toads, and like a combination of like a toad and a lizard. And I used to catch those things and I had like a whole bunch of them in my backyard in this giant pen at one point. So, but yeah, I'm amazed that I've never heard of that creature, especially since I'm so into those.
One time, my cousin, so I have a cousin, Andy, speaking of exploring, this is probably where I got my exploring bug, because we used to just, his name is Andy. He's a month younger than me. We live next door to each other and we're double cousins.
Okay.
And so it seemed like we were twins. And so we used to just explore all the time. We'd just go outside and we'd be exploring, but we were mostly looking for things like frogs or toads or turtles. And one summer we saw that we could get turtles. This has nothing to do with copywriting, but we saw that, across the street from us, there's a sod field and it had a creek in it. There were creeks in there.
Yeah.
And so we could see that there were turtles in there, but the creek was deep and we weren't supposed to be swimming in that creek, but we could see the turtle head poking up out of the water, and it was like 15 feet away. How are we going to catch those things? If we try to swim out there, we'll never catch it. And so then another cousin, I grew up in this neighborhood where everyone was related to me. And so other cousin, Matt, he's older than us. He built us this turtle catching net. And it was like a net with like a long, long pole. It was a 20-foot long pole. And so we had this net and we caught ourselves 30 turtles in one day.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It's out there. We were just like, we see the head, go running, get it.
Swoop.
And then, swoop. Yeah. And we had
What'd you do with them?
We put him in a pool and we played with them and then we let them go.
Oh, wow. What a great experience.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we just have a lot of animals because our kids want animals and we want our kids to be happy. And so, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. We've got a couple cats right now and I'm a little bit tired of those, but I've had animals all my life. So I think maybe I'm just getting old and curmudgeon, but,
yeah, easier to keep the house clean if we didn't have so many.
That's right. Right. Yeah. So is there anything else that you're like non-copywriting that you're like really passionate about? Like a hobby, a cause, anything?
Well, there's some causes that I'd like to get into that are pretty, I haven't gotten into them as much as I thought, but like I could see myself getting into writing about like cancer, helping people with cancer or mental health things, just things that have touched me. For a while, I had gotten myself on the bone marrow registry just because I thought, back when my own mother had cancer, I thought she almost got a bone marrow transplant. And I thought, geez, that was so stressful. That was so bad. And if there was somebody, that you could match with. So, with the bone marrow, it just seems like such a far off shot. So sometimes, I thought it would be nice to work with nonprofits that help people that are going through cancer or stuff like that. I've done a little bit of work with nonprofits, but I'd like to maybe develop my career a little bit more where I'm doing more, fundraising letters or letters that are helping people like that. And I think I need to focus and concentrate on connecting with people that are involved with those causes.
And without sharing, too much information, it's completely up to you. But I mean, I'm aware of your story and of your parents and things. And I realize that, there are things that happen in each one of our lives that kind of inform some of the decisions that we make and the things that we get involved with. And like the older that I get, the more keen I am about spending more time supporting like things that matter to me, and that's also been a big part of my life as a copywriter is, it's no secret that my brother Joe has a big focus on addiction recovery,
Yeah.
and both of us came from a place where we both had addiction issues. So I've done an awful lot of stuff in that area. And, most people don't know about all of the things that I've done, but I'm very passionate about that and very passionate about healing and like changing lives, men's lives, and things like that. So those are some of the things that now I use my copywriting career, and when appropriate, and when there's an opportunity, I use the skills I have as a copywriter to tell stories and to help things. But I also take, the money that I make and the income that I make, and I use it to support organizations that matter to me. So I'm judging that you've got some of the same kind of things going on there with the bone marrow stuff and other issues.
Yeah, I could tell the story quickly because sometimes, I can't help but sometimes I'll get weirdly jealous of young adults who they finish college and then they just go to their career, and just everything, they get the wind at their sails and things are just going perfectly. You know what I mean? It just like, wow, lucky them. You know what I mean? But I don't know how many people are really like that. But, it's like college grads who they just go and they're like, I'm going to work for the firm now. Everything's figured out. And so I'm actually working on a memoir to kind of explain this a little better, so I've got a lot of the chapters down. But, really I was in college. I went to Lawrence University. So that's a college that has a music conservatory and also has a college. So I was attending the college and the music conservatory, as a trumpet student, and I was getting an English degree.
Right.
Yeah, I was like 20, working in college, and things were going really good for me. Like I was, like past the upper level jury. I was, things are going good with music. Things are going good with writing. And then all of a sudden, my mom just got leukemia, and it was just sudden. She had to go to the intensive care unit. She was like stage 4.
Wow.
It was like we went to, even it had been Easter. So we were, I remember on Good Friday, she got real sick in church and she was like, I've never felt like this. And I'm thinking to myself, I think I'm psychic, because when she said that, a voice said, she has leukemia. And I didn't even know what the symptoms of leukemia were at the time. So I think that God was just telling me that she had leukemia. But 2 weeks later, she did have leukemia.
Wow.
And so I dropped out of school, not permanently, but I got on a bus and I just went back to Minnesota. I just left it behind, and my dad was running a business, and, my mom and dad were running a business together. They had a sharpening business where they sharpen tools. We call it a B2B business,
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I'll help you. I'm going to do mom's job. And, I was helping run the business, and while she was in cancer, while she had cancer. Well, anyway, she ended up passing away. It was like me and my sisters, my mom was always, really encouraging us to go to school. It was like important, we were kind of like, nerdy perfectionist kids that just wanted to go to get our college degree. But then she died before we finished. And so last year was just like coasting. It's like an airplane that loses its wheels and has to land. So it was finishing school was a challenge, and moving on to the next step. But things work out, things don't work out the way you expect them to, but it worked out fine. It was really devastating,
Sure.
for me, for my father, for my sisters and everything. But I ended up, moving to New York City, working as a, proofreader. And then my husband at the time, Quinn, was, he got his PhD, and then we moved to Los Alamos, and that's what brought me to Santa Fe.
Mm.
And so it just, you find a way to make it, it's not, just as well, but I feel like as my career developed, meeting new people, trying new things, and also just giving it a shot even before I have an official.
Yeah, I think that's great. An important thing that you said that I know now, looking back on, my life, is that people plan and then God laughs. It's like, okay, well, that's a great plan, but here's what's really going to happen. Because, I think that, I mean, as you know, I'm a person of faith, and I really believe that our lives are divinely influenced and that things happen for a reason. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that everything that happens is, like what was supposed to happen, because we can make choices. But I think that even from those choices, good things can come. And one of the things I've noticed about a lot of young people, and when I say young people, I'm talking people in their 20s, is they're very impatient with instance of social media and seeing everybody else. You mentioned earlier this, sometimes we look at folks and be like, gosh, I envy their life. And it's really easy to do that. One of the things I've held on to all my life is my dad told me this because my mom died when I was 9. So I don't really remember very much about her, but she had this saying, and it was, never envy another person's good fortune because you don't know their secret sorrow. And, I've held on to that a lot of times when I've started looking at other people and feeling sorry for myself because I really don't know what's going on. And ultimately, I think that, everything that we go through in our lives can either help us to, become a better person and really fulfill whatever our mission is here, or it can take us down a path of self-destruction, depending on how we respond to it. So I think that our response to whatever happens is usually the most important thing as opposed to what actually happens. So,
Yeah, I think that, when those things happen, most of the time I wanted to, process it, and I realized that there's a lot going on when things like that happen. It happens to people every day, and the type of support that people need is just really astronomical. And so I don't necessarily know how I would, bring that into my career, but it certainly has had a big effect on the way I write and the way I think.
And that is important, is I think some young copywriters, they are trying to fake life experience because they haven't had it yet. And really don't think you can read your way into understanding what it's like to go through something traumatic. Maybe there's people out there that can do that. But I don't take parenting advice from somebody who's never had a kid.
What do you mean? They're the experts.
It's like, and so many people offer things like that, right? But all of these things that you have gone through in your life, they do inform your ability to write and relate. And, at the end of the day, that's really the business that we're in as copywriters, is we're in the relation business, the relationship business, the communication business, the understanding and the empathy business. So, and bringing it back to copywriting, can you think of, any tips? No more than 3. You probably have hundreds, but can you think of any tips that you would offer to somebody who is trying to hire a copywriter? What are the things they should really look for in choosing someone to write their copy for them?
I think I would tell those people to have a system that's an ongoing system for getting to know new copywriters. Make it a part of their business. Don't turn it into oh my God, I need something now kind of thing. Sometimes I see a lot of posts where they're going into a room of strangers online or something, and they're saying, I need something right now. We got to turn it around right now. And I got to find a copywriter to do this project. What do you charge? And it's like, I don't know, it's just creating a crisis situation.
Right.
Why? And so other companies, I suppose there's some extremes, but other companies will bring new writers in, and I think it might be smarter to, don't turn it into a crisis, first of all, and plan ahead and just think new writers are coming in, I would think create opportunities for new writers to come in and get their toes wet, have some little jobs where a new writer could take it in. So you have an opportunity to try out a new writer that's kind of low risk. Mm-hmm. Give yourself some opportunities to try out some new writers in a low risk way where it's not like everything depends on this new writer that you've just met. give them a chance to try it. And that'd be good for you, and it'd be good for the writers, because the writers would have a chance to do something and have a project where they get results. And you'd have a chance to try a new writer, but it's not, going to be like your main thing. That way you've got, your senior writers and some new writers coming in. So it's almost like a system. I don't know, what would be.
So that's a good one to start with. Don't wait until there's a crisis. Don't hire from the position of being in a crisis for a copywriter, because then hard to make a good choice. Number two, create opportunities to have copywriting be a consistent aspect of your business, just like marketing, just like standard operating procedures. It's like bringing in copywriters and making that a normal, natural part of your business. Is a process that should be just part of everyday activity. I like that. I don't think most businesses think about that. Only the advanced ones. Businesses and entrepreneurs and business owners who understand that copywriting is really the oxygen of your business. But yeah, that's a great tip.
And tip number 3 would be, and I think this is probably an example of a low risk job that you can give a new copywriter, is get the new copywriters to collect testimonials and interview your customers. Maybe a new writer can do that, or an intermediate writer, where that's another system that everyone should have, because, that way you have a huge file of, testimonials and results and quotes and pictures and just random stuff. I feel like businesses of all types could be collecting more, and they don't. They act like, oh, I don't want to bother my customers, but they need that stuff for their copywriters to work with. They don't have any. They need to have the box of materials for the copywriters to dig into. And so the third tip is to make it a routine to collect that stuff.
So what was tip number 2? Did I miss it?
Tip number 1 was don't make it a crisis. Tip number 2 was have a low risk job that you can try new copywriters on.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Low risk and fun. Just kind of have something where you bring, like, American writers and artists as an example. They have jobs that people can do that are a big deal. Like, they'll have sales letters. Like, they want to write a sales letter, then maybe Paul Hollingshead will write it or something, and it'll, and if they really want to sell a lot of stuff, they'll hire someone who they really trust. But then there's some easier jobs where brand new writers can get started, and they'll be writing like articles or emails or just stuff like that. So there's just make it a little bit more obvious how new writers can get a try to get started.
Yeah, great. That's good. Good stuff, Mandy. Thank you very much. And as we wrap up here, I want to ask you, since you are part of this team, is there anything about the Copy Avengers that you think, the whole concept of what we do kind of as a team is something that would be important for anyone who's watching this interview? Why would having a team, work on your copy versus any one of us individually? What is the benefit to having maybe a team work on your project versus an individual copywriter?
Well, everyone on the team is different. People have different skills. And when we get a new project in, we just get together and we discuss it, and we put our ideas on the table. And I think we're coming up with more ideas and better ideas than even us would come up with individually, And it's a good practice to have the team look at something together and come up with different solutions. And then we can, work to improve each other's work and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's great.
We've got the round table.
The round table, exactly. Yes.
The table, we're all gonna discuss it, and we're gonna have our strategy session before we get started, and we're gonna attack it from all angles, And so I think it's I'm happy to be on the team, makes it more exciting to work, as a team and to take on these projects. So anyway, thanks for having me on the team.
Oh man, I'm so grateful that you're part of it. You bring an awful lot to it. And I agree with you that a lot of copywriters work kind of in a vacuum, in isolation. I think what's different about what we do, not only don't we write alone, but we collaborate on our clients' ideas. And that old adage, two heads are better than one. Well, we have a lot of different ideas, and we bring in many, many years of collective experience and perspective to really uncover and identify unique mechanisms, unique hooks, hidden benefits, and things that, give our clients absolute best advantage possible in presenting their offer and their message to the marketplace. And so I love that we have the ability to do that. Anyway, it's been great talking with you, and I love the location that you chose for this interview because it's beautiful, just like you. So you got any last final things you want to share before we close up?
Nope. Excelsior.
Excelsior. Awesome. All right. Mandy, Odette, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you. And for those of you that, please, if you watch this and you like it, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, invite other people. And if there's anything that you need help with when it comes to your copywriting or marketing, please reach out to us. Our team is here to help reach your goals and succeed in your business and your endeavors. And you will be very delighted with the results you get. So till next time, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Hero Up. I hope today's episode challenged you to step up as a hero in your field and provided you with valuable insights to express your unique voice and message. If you found this episode helpful and motivating, please leave a review and share it with your friends and family. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes and amazing guests. Until next time, find your voice, share your message, live your mission.